Welcome to Back on the Broomstick,
A modern witch's spoken word grimoire.
where two witchy friends from way back are reconnecting to their pagan roots after a long period of mundanity.
We're rewalking the path of the wise and trying out all the latest spells, rituals, and magical theory in today's witchcraft and pagan practices.
So grab your wand and your incense
Your cauldron and your crystals
and join us
as we get
back on the broomstick.
Hi, and welcome to Back on the Broomstick. I'm Layla, and on this episode, it's almost spring. Soon, the world will be balanced on the equinox and the beginning of a new season. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're getting ready for growth, flowers, and new beginnings. But the flip side of that is often mud, storms, lightning, and late season snow. The equinox may be about balance, but spring is about messy growth and the sometimes chaotic and unpredictable forces of change.
And I'm Shell, and I just basically lived through what they're calling a snowicane. So normally I'm feeling the colored eggs and I'm feeling the snow crocuses and all of that. Right now I'm just feeling damn turmoil and bullshit and cold. And, I feel like this is a traumatic spring entrance. So, here to talk about Ostara in the upcoming season, here we are.
We're just past Imbolc. We're in the end of February. March is coming up. And you know how they say, what's that saying? March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb, or in like a lamb and out like a
One of
lion.
those.
I feel like this is not a lamb like spring. I feel like this is very
No,
much
it's not.
from so many different levels, not just the weather, but everything. Everything right now feels like chaos and mud and what did you call it? A snowicane?
Yeah, that's what the news called it, a snowicane. But you also got to think recently, within the last few weeks, we had,
The Lunar New Year.
and this year is the year of the horse, the fire horse. Well, horses are wild and just a lot, and I feel like that is a good representation of right now. It's
Yeah.
wild and it's a lot.
The fire horse is such a good representation for how I feel right now. It is. It feels chaotic. Picture a horse with its tail on fire. That would be awful and very chaotic. That's kind
Yeah.
of what it feels like at the moment. And the fire horse represents a lot of change, that big change, chaos. And I feel like this is more the spring for breaking eggs as opposed to coloring eggs. Although I like that part of it. Don't get me wrong. I like the traditional things of the spring equinox of Ostara. But I guess I'm feeling more the wild, chaotic energy of a spring storm as opposed to the pretty pastel energy of the first flower. It's just a more chaotic spring this year.
This notch in the wheel just has a different feel than normal.
It does. I was listening to some of our older Ostara episodes, and I remember in one of them we talked about Chichen Itza. Remember we used to talk about wanting to go visit there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I still
Yeah.
do. I still
I
would. I
still
would.
do.
On the spring equinox at Chichen Itza is one of the most amazing mathematical, celestial things. I don't know. The Mayan people created this temple, this huge temple, and it has 365 steps that go up to the top of it. And on the spring equinox at dawn, the way the light shines against the steps of this temple lights up along one of the ridges what looks like a snake, and it connects with a stone head at the bottom of the temple to literally form a serpent of the sun going up this temple. And it's just proof that people have not only been celebrating this season, this celestial event, for a very, very long time, but they also knew that sometimes that energy is a fucking dragon.
Well, and that kind of makes sense because, one of my favorite this time of year things is spring cleaning, out with the old, in with the new. But like this year, it kind of feels like spring cleaning has turned into a dumpster fire. And once it's all burned to the ground, the cleansing has happened. In the spirit of that clearing out, that cleaning out, that getting rid of old energy, old shit, old whatever's tying you down. But it
Mhm.
feels like, it's funny you say about the snake because it feels like a snake shedding its skin. We're not just coming into a new season or what have you. It's like we're all damn shedding a part of ourselves
Yeah.
coming into this. And we're not the only ones either, because
No.
everybody's feeling it.
And I like that you said everybody because the whole world is going to have an equinox, right? In the northern hemisphere, it's the spring equinox, March between the 19th and the 21st. And in the southern hemisphere, it's the fall equinox, it's the autumn equinox. But they're both equinoxes. The world will be even, will be equal. The
We
entire
got the
world.
same vibe.
That's right. Same vibe, one world. It's a moment we're going to stand on that balance point together. It's one of the few times that we do, and I think that's very cool. And in the middle of this chaos, we at least have that one balance point. And it feels a little bit more like the point of a knife or the point of a spear, maybe, but
Yeah.
it's still a balance point. And okay, so before we get into the chaos of the season, let's talk just a little bit about the history. What is Ostara? When is it? And what are some of the things that people have observed on Ostara?
I'm always going to go back to my sweet little colored eggs that I'm not feeling this year. The reason I like the egg and the representation of the egg this time of year is because it kind of it's a visual representation that I can also hold in my hands of the world is still maybe a little bit tightly in its shell, ready to bust out. Because this is the time of renewal and of new growth and of start over.
Seeds and planting, new beginnings. Yeah.
Setting intentions, setting plans. This is a good time. We've talked in the past recently about how I hate New Year's resolutions. This is actually a good time to set intentions and to kind of cultivate what you want to be coming to you in this next year because in bulk, we were thinking about the seeds we want to plant. Now we're kind of in the action mode where we're going to actually plant these seeds that we're going to be sowing down the road.
Were you looking at my notes? I literally have written right here, Imbolc is planning, Ostara is action. It's like you're looking at my notes. I love it. But that's such a perfect encapsulation.
Am I psychic? Am I your best friend? What is this?
All of the above, yes. But no, that's so true. That's like the kernel of all of it, And in bulk, it's the inklings, it's the
It's the
first thoughts.
stirrings.
Yes, the stirrings where you're just doing that planning. You're starting to think about what you might want in spring. We talked about it being the last inner pause, right? And
Pause is over. Get to work.
that's right. There's this thing in my family. My dad's always been able to do it. It kind of runs on that side of the family. I don't know. Maybe it's a mountain people thing. I'm not sure. But being able to smell the season. There would be a time in spring when my grandmother or my dad would come in and she'd be like, well, spring's coming. Like, how do you know, Grandma? She's like, I can smell it on the wind.
I can smell when snow is coming, so like I get the concept.
Yeah. And I started to learn, I guess, but now I do it too. I'd be like, oh, spring's coming. There's something on the air. There's something. And it was literally about a week or so ago before we recorded this episode that
Please say you smelled it. Please say you smelled it.
I did. I did
Thank the
smell spring.
gods.
But the fun thing was, is like that same day that I smelled it, my husband's like, I feel like spring's coming. I could smell it on the wind. And then
Of
my
course he would
daughter,
say that.
right? And then my daughter said it. So I feel like spring's really announcing itself this year. And I do feel like I think Punxsutawney Phil was wrong. I know that's kind of blasphemy, but he said spring was going to be 6 weeks late. And I feel like it's going to be early this year. Snowmageddon, Snowpocalypse, Snow McCain, Snowacane.
Snow-a-cane.
Sorry,
Snow-a-cane.
Snowacane. Pardon me. Snowacane. Aside, I think that was the last gasp of winter because I really do feel like spring is coming a little early this year. It feels chaotic. It feels energetic. It feels like,
Like a shedding.
yeah, like a
Like
need
a
for
shedding.
change, a need to shed that skin. Yes, a need for, okay, I'm going to say the name of the serpent at Chichen Itza. I believe it's Kukulkan. That snake is going to shed his skin and come down and bring this change. And it's messy. Change is messy. It's like birth. Like you mentioned seeds bursting and cracking and seeds growing is not gentle. This is not a gentle season.
Well, and it's also for a lot of animals, it is also birthing season, which kind of goes along with it because that ain't easy either.
Messy, chaotic, and not gentle. Yeah.
Not gentle.
No.
At least mine weren't.
No, no, no. Messy, chaotic. Yeah, that about fits it. It's tumultuous, nature. Spring is stormy. It's mud. And I love that poem, In Just E. E. Cummings, The Spring, where he talks about the little wee balloon man, mud luscious,
I love that mud luscious.
mud luscious. It's such a good word.
It
Um,
really is.
and puddle wonderful. It's another good word in there. But in this poem, he talks about the world waking up and being mud luscious. But he also talks about a little balloon man. And at the end of the poem, he calls him the goat-footed balloon man.
Sounds like Pan.
Right? Exactly. And it's that kind of chaos, that pan energy, that new beginnings. And I guess if you want to get into the, like you were saying, babies being born, the lust aspects of it, the blood is running, your energy is high. It's an energetic season for sure.
But it's also because of that. Normally I don't necessarily this time of year feel the need to do intense grounding on the regular, but because this feels so chaotic and so spring coming with a bang on that fire horse, I think that now is a good time to kind of reestablish your grounding techniques, to kind of ground and meditate or take a walk. Well, I wouldn't take a walk barefoot in the ground right at the moment, but you get the idea, feet to the ground.
I like where you're going with we're not there yet. This isn't Ostara. This isn't spring yet. The equinox isn't coming for another couple weeks. So, what are some of the things that we can do to prepare for that, to get ready? Because, like you said, the season's coming like a fire horse. It's coming, it's energetic and it's crazy.
At least for me, the probably most important thing at the moment is the grounding, kind of making sure figuratively and literally that you got both feet planted squarely in the ground because then the storm doesn't seem so rough. I don't know if that's a bad analogy, but I feel like some of that grounding you can kind of mediate that chaos and maybe use it to your advantage or wield the chaos because I don't think avoiding chaos is the right way. I don't think ducking and dodging it. I think wielding the chaos is best course of action, especially right now.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because our last
Don't
episode,
tell me it's in your notes too, right?
close, very close. When we were talking to Jane last episode, and she was talking about the storm. You can't control the storm. You didn't
Nope.
call it, it's not your storm, but you have to ride it out somehow. You can only control how you handle yourself in the storm. Try to
Right.
ride the eye of the storm. And that really struck a chord with both of us. I mean, it's the stormy time of year. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's the season coming into Ostara that got us. But I came up with a spell that I call riding the storm, literally.
Ooh. Ooh, I already love the name. Do tell
Right?
more.
And it's about not just grounding, but holding on to that storm, holding on to that chaos and doing something with it, I guess, if you can.
Wielding it for good.
That's right, wielding it to your own purpose. All right, for this, you'll need a glass jar, something with a top. I mean, you can use a salsa jar with a top, a mayonnaise jar, I don't care, whatever you got. Preferably a little glass jar with a lid that fits it. Gather yourself some storm water, preferably water that rained down during a storm. Maybe it was snow-a-cane snow that you've melted. But preferably stormwater. Doesn't have to be. It can be water from your tap or from a bottle at the store. But if you got stormwater, great. The next thing that you'll want is either some natural glitter. They make earth safe glitter, so you can get some of that, or pet safe glitter, or even mica powder, which is very, very pretty. If you don't have either of those, just some small stones or crystal chips. Shell, I know you love to have those little tiny crystal chips around.
I do, but I have an alternative for folks.
Ooh,
You
what's
can
that?
take some of the natural eyeshadow and kind of break it up, and you can use natural eyeshadow as glitter.
I love that. I love that. Perfect. Especially Shell's idea. This way you can use color. I didn't even think of that, Shell. If you don't have access to natural glitter, take a little eyeshadow. Maybe it's a color that doesn't go great with your skin tone and you're never going to use it
Exactly.
anyway. Frugal witches here. So take your jar and your water. If you've put the jar out during a storm to gather that energy, great. Otherwise, don't worry about it. So you're going to take your jar with your water and you're going to hold it. And you're going to picture a storm in your mind. Picture a raging spring storm, thunder, lightning, wind blowing, rain being chaotic and churning up the mud on the ground. And say something like, by storm, by seed and thundered ground, wake what sleeps and shake what's bound. Then into the jar, put in your crushed eyeshadow or your mica powder or even a few small crystals. And you can choose them again for color intention, stone intention, however you want, or just because you like how they look. And put those stones in there. Then you're going to breathe into it. Breathe in 3 breaths, your own breath into this jar. And at each exhale, imagine letting go of everything that's bothering you, all your stress, any negativity, any stress, anything you need to let go of for this season, blow that into the jar. You're loosening the blocks within you, you're loosening the negativity within you. Then say, by wind that rattles bone and door, I am the storm, I hold the core. By seed that splits and dares to grow, I call in change, I let it flow. Close the jar real tight and then shake it slowly in the beginning and then shake it more and more violently
Like a
as you
storm.
go, like a storm. Watch as it shimmers. Listen to the stones and the things clicking inside your jar. If you don't want to use water and stones, you could use a little bit of sand, a few stones, maybe a stick, maybe an acorn, some small natural things, and put it in that jar. Same thing. And then shake it.
I got one right here with stones in it.
This is your storm jar. This is the storm that you control. So, this energy that you've got here, whenever you're feeling stuck, whenever you're feeling too angry, whenever you feel like you need grounding, whenever you feel like you need energy, take your storm jar and shake it. And then watch that swirl. Watch the energy shake up inside there and then settle back when you're done. It comes back to order, comes back to a balance point when you're done. This is your own storm to help you find balance in that chaos, to help you harvest the energy from that storm and ride that, or to help you find the calm in the center. But this is your storm jar. After that initial shaking and charging it with that energy, you can set that on your altar so that it's there whenever you need to either ground yourself, find that energy, or ride the storm.
I love that.
I'm not really the world's best house cleaner. I know that we talk a lot about spring cleaning and stuff
I
like that.
love cleaning.
And I do it. I mean, I do it. Don't get me wrong. I do it. But all these Ostara spells that are centered around cleaning your house just don't fully resonate with me because it's not something that I'm going to turn to as my first choice of spell type. Something like a little storm jar, that's going to help me a little bit more to order my chaotic brain a little bit. And, okay, maybe once I shake the storm jar a few times, then I'll feel better about sweeping all the negative energy out of my house to celebrate getting ready for Ostara.
One thing I like to do, because, I have this freaking obsession with eggs this time of year, and I can't explain it. When I was growing up, we used to blow eggs. And if you are not familiar with blowing eggs, you are going to poke a tiny hole in both ends of the egg and you are going to blow the insides out. So you end up with like this hollow shell.
Hmm.
So after you blow the egg out, what we would do is we would take a white crayon. Now, when I was a kid, I was drawing all kinds of shit. But as I grew older and kind of got into witchcraft, I turned it into drawing sigils. So I would draw with a white crayon, I would draw sigils on the egg, and then I would still dye the egg because I love pretty colored eggs. So I would dye the egg, and then the sigil appears in white through the color. So you've got this hollowed out thing. So then what I would do is I would stuff herbs in it. Love herbs, herb lady. So I would stuff different herbs in it. And then couple different things I've done over the years. I've crushed it and chucked it in the yard because I like to throw things.
And break them. Yes.
Yes. But I've also buried it, kind of a burying my intentions to plant. I have also put little dirt in them and put seeds in them, and the sigils were representative of things that I wanted to grow within me or grow within my life or in my environment. So that was a literal representation of me planting the seeds.
Plus, it's a good way to do a spell jar that you want to bury.
Exactly, because, eggshells are biodegradable. You're not hurting nobody. If you chuck it out the door, just don't hit the neighbor. Um,
Or do if they
or
need. No, wait,
do.
didn't say that. I did not say that. Do not chuck eggs at your neighbor. Bad, Layla.
Because You can also be discreet about it. Maybe you're still in the broom closet. You can draw sigils with your white crayon on your eggshell. Don't dye it. No one's going to know they're there except for you.
Or do diet. They won't know what the symbols mean anyway.
Exactly. But like I said, you can use it as a little planter. You can use it as intention setting and bury it. You can put all of your pent up chaos into it and then crush it like a grape. But I like doing a lot with the egg theme this time of year.
All right, you gave me a really good idea
Okay?
because I know you love eggs
I do.
and I love you. And so, even though I am a bitch this year for spring,
You are so anti-egg this year. It
I am,
kills me.
but you gave me such a good idea.
Doing what?
Okay. Do you remember in Yule, there's that wishes spell that people were doing where you write like 13 wishes or something
Yeah,
on papers
yeah,
and then you fold them up and you burn one a day? The ones you burn are the ones you let go and let the gods take care of. And then the ones that are left are the ones for you to take care of or something like that. Do you remember
yeah.
that?
You can do the same thing with a freaking egg.
That's what I'm thinking. So here's what you do. You come up with like, okay, maybe no more than a dozen because here in the United States, eggs come in a carton of a dozen typically. So maybe no more than a dozen. And you're going to sit with them, sit quietly with the eggs and just think about your year. You've already set your intentions. You've set your New Year's resolutions. You've made promises to yourself. You have a roadmap maybe for how the year is going. And now we're into the third month. So you've kind of seen where things are headed, what you need to change, maybe what you need to do. So think about that. Think about all the hopes and fears you have for this year. And you're going to take half of your eggs, and those are the ones for what you're calling in, what you'd like to get this year. Maybe it's growth, courage, money, healing, creativity, love, whatever you're looking for and would like to call into you this year. The other half of the eggs you're going to set aside, and those you're going to fill with the energy of what you're ready to release: old habits, self doubts, stress, anxiety, burnout, fear. So, for each of these ideas, come up with a sigil or a symbol. It could just be a word or the first letter of that idea. And each egg is going to represent one idea. Half are good, half are bad. Things that you would like to bury in the ground and turn into compost.
The things that no longer serve you.
That's right. So create a symbol for each of those things, or one word or something like that. And then take an egg for each one of those things that you wrote. And using your white crayon, write it with intention on the eggs. Once you're done, you'll have 1 to 12 eggs that you cannot see what the symbol is. But they're all charged and they all have this symbol on them. Now, for the half that are good, for the ones that you're calling in, put those eggs back in the carton. Make sure you mark it because you won't be able to see the sigils in white crayon. And from now until Ostara, eat the eggs, all but one. And every time you eat one of those eggs, say something like, I take in and embody the energy that this represents. And let those intentions into yourself.
What are you doing with the last egg?
Color it. You're
Ooh,
going to color it on Ostara. But first, there's a little bit of work to do. On Ostara, take the 6 eggs that you put all the negativity into, what you want to release. They have the symbols of everything you want to let go of. Go outside or go in front of your trash can, take those eggs, and you're going to clearly say, I get rid of all of this. This no longer serves my life. This no longer lives within me. Take each one of those eggs and just let the anger, the rage, the frustration build up and fill that egg in your hand, and then throw it with force, with intention, with energy. Shatter it hard against the earth. Watch it split and spill. This is the messiness of spring. This is getting rid of things that don't work for you. It's throwing them out of your life. It's cracking them so that they no longer have any power for you. It's cathartic. It's letting go. Say something like, what was sealed and held is now broken. What was stagnant now feeds the earth. And you can leave that, or if not, gather it up and throw it away. You can also throw them directly into a garbage can and do the same thing. Once they're all shattered, take the egg that you're saving, the one good egg that's left, and hold that. Hold it to your heart. Hold it to your center. Hold it to your third eye and say something like, From what I release, I rise. From what I nourish, I grow. By shell, by storm, by my will, I make it so. Then take that egg and dye it to reveal the symbol. That egg, that symbol, as it blooms, as it slowly rises to the surface with the dye, and you can see the symbol that you put on there, that's the egg, that's the symbol and hope that is most likely to be apparent this year. That's the one the gods are going to really help bring to life and bring to fruition this year. The eggs that you've eaten, you've internalized those. You've internalized those energies so that you can work on them yourself. They might have more subtle effects throughout the year, but the egg with the sigil that you have dyed, that's the one that's going to appear very clearly in your life at some point this year. So you can take that egg, and if you've blown it out, you can keep it on your altar as a decoration. You can also crush the eggshell and add that to other spell work, other workings, black salt, protection salt. You can add it to a money bowl or any other type of working to add that extra energy into it. So this spell really matches the season. You know, you've got the eggs, you've got the balance of the good and the bad. There's the smashing and the violence of the storms, as well as the beauty and the blooming of the colors and the flowers and new life and growth.
I like that. I like that.
There's a little on the fly spell for you. I just loved the idea of a symbol appearing.
And you kept my colored egg theme.
There you go. And you can smash some of them.
That was actually a good starter.
It's a start. It's a start. You know, you never know where these ideas are going to come from. There
Exactly.
you go. So spring is about change. It's all about,
Transformation.
and it's not often easy and it's not often clean. I mean, you're going through a lot right now. And I feel like the energy in your life right now feels very much like changing energy. And so I
Yeah.
see you doing a lot of changes in your home and in your space. And myself, this is a year where I, for once, am not moving or not going anywhere, but I still feel like not violent change, but almost insistent need to change things. Like, got to clear out the old to make room for the new, and not in a fresh spring way, but almost in a preparing for battle way, or preparing for the violent changes that spring can sometimes bring way, I guess. I've filled 3 different bags full of old clothes and old things to take down to the thrift store and to donate. And I've gotten rid of some old furniture. You helped me rearrange my office when you were here. It just feels like this year is a lot about change, big change.
Clearing pathways. This year feels very much clearing pathways. I'm all about Hecate, and she is definitely the queen of the crossroads. And you know, you and I talked about this earlier before we started recording, that this year it feels like, and not just for me, but for others as well. She's determined your path. You're on it. Get a move on.
Oh, wow. Yes. And I'm feeling a lot of Ellen of the Ways, a lot of path
Yes.
walking deities this time of year. And I love that you mentioned Hecate because we've talked in the past about Persephone and her connection to this season, you know, her coming back to the earth. And it was really Hecate that was her guide, that was her guardian while she was in the underworld, and then helped lead her with her torch. You know, as the days grow brighter, Hecate's torch is getting brighter as she's coming up from the underworld with Persephone.
But I feel like you're right that we have reached a point where Hecate has come to us collectively and is leading us down our path with her
Yeah.
torch.
But that's really what I'm feeling is Persephone coming up, Ellen walking the paths, Cernunnos walking the pathways, Kukulkan coming down that stairway, you know, the dragon coming into the life. And it just
You know,
feels like,
you just kind of gave me a weird perspective. I feel like in a lot of years past, I feel like I get that like childlike view of spring in Ostara. And this year it's more of that adult view, that Persephone coming back from the underworld and, you know, crawling her way up through the caves of the earth to emerge, and as opposed to the kids dancing around in fields in the spring. You know, usually I have more that childlike view of this time of year, and this year I feel like I have that adult Persephone view.
I like the idea of spring and new growth and planting. And I was always about my garden, getting back into the earth. And
This year spring hurts.
This year, I feel like my bare feet are in the mud. My hair is crazy in the wind, and I'm like screaming in the thunderstorms. This year's different.
But I think it's good. I think that we are going to sit on that balance of equality that the equinox brings. And I think we're going to teeter off of it on the right side.
But I do think that balance is really a tipping point, and I do think it's going to push us headlong into a season of wild and crazy change, of big weather, big energies, and big, wild, unexpected change. And I think getting ready now for that is important. Like you said, finding that grounding, finding a place where you can plant your feet.
You know, it's funny you said that because in a different conversation with someone else, I recently had a conversation about how I feel that this year is going to be like big weather. And I say that like, I tell my grandson and my daughter tells my grandson, he's got big emotions. That's how I feel about this weather. This weather this year, I feel is we're just going to have big weather this year.
I feel like I have big emotions this year. Maybe the earth does too. I think we're all kind of going through a little bit of a temper tantrum, maybe. I don't know what it is, but it's big change. And
Growing pains.
yes, and they are not easy. And we talked about equating this to birth earlier, and that's messy and painful and hard, but good. On the other end of it, it's growth and it's new things. And just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not something that we shouldn't be
Hard can be
working for.
good too.
Yeah, sometimes hard is great. It's that whole idea of shit, going back to the egg. How many times have you ever been told, we grew up in rural New York, you're not supposed to help the birds hatch out of the eggs. It's not good for them.
Right.
They're supposed
Let
to
nature
struggle.
be.
Yeah, you're not supposed to help the butterfly out of the cocoon. There's a reason for the struggle. The struggle serves a purpose. And so just because it's hard doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So, yeah,
Here we are.
here we are in the snow cane on the balance of the edge of spring. So, yeah, here's to spring, Shell. Here's to change and new beginnings,
Cheers.
difficult and muddy though they may be. All right, so I'm going to go shovel off my porch and see if I can smell spring on the air still.
I'm gonna go see if the guy from the Weather Channel, Jim Cantori, is still in the state of Massachusetts because we're doomed until he leaves.
Is that what it happened? Is that what's going on?
That's been a lifelong thing. And any of our listeners, if you are an avid Weather Channel watcher, which me and my family have been like my whole life, if Jim Cantori comes to town, you're screwed. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay, well, I hope Jim Cantori leaves you alone soon.
Yeah, he needs to go somewhere that's not here.
That's right. All right, witches, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Back on the Broomstick. Please like, subscribe, tell a friend, tell your boss, tell your coworker, tell the random guy that you saw in the supermarket about our wonderful podcast.
And just remember, folks, even though spring might hurt so good, we're in this together and we got this.
Keep your toes in the mud and keep it witchy.